Okay, so today something a little different. I just got this delivered no more than like 5 minutes ago. What you're looking at, this is a beautiful bag for this computer. What you're looking at is a Compaq Plus Portable computer. It's an IBM compatible. I have a soft spot in my heart for these computers because this is how I cut my teeth back in the day with a true computer. I had a Commodore 64, but this was a business computer. And I remember getting this. I was the big shot because I had a hard drive, came with a hard drive, 10 megabyte, I believe it was. Anyways, had all the same IBM ports for external monitor, parallel port, what have you. I used to take this to work as a kid, and I had a modem on it, and used to plug it into our demarcation board. In case you don't know what that is, it's a board on a wall where all of the phone lines come in. And I remember taking this to work, splicing into the demarcation board, and calling BBSs all over the United States on the company's dime. But we had so many calls coming in that no one really paid much attention to it. So anyways, I'm unpacking this. Well, I already unpacked it, obviously, but I'm breaking this open for the first time right in front of you. So we're going to see if this thing works and go through some of the motions to make sure that everything works on it the way it should. Let's see what happens. All right, hear the fan warbling, so not too unusual or unexpected for being this old. Okay, so the floppy's booting out. Let's see. Oh, there goes the hard drive. I saw it flicker. Yes. Okay, booted off the hard drive because it went through an auto batch. An auto exec batch, I should say. So I was trying to do a directory on it. Doesn't look like well, let's go through some of these keys. Okay, the escape key works. Huh. It looks like some of the keys are sticking. Because that O worked for a little bit, it doesn't work anymore. Okay, looks like we're gonna have to take this keyboard apart and see about cleaning it. The return key doesn't work. The O key worked for a second or two, and it stopped working. First things first then, let's go ahead and get this keyboard working, because that's the easiest thing, because it looked like everything else is really good. The screen is great. The screen doesn't have any ghosting on it. The screen is awesome. It's got great contrast, so really nice. We can't try the disk drive because we need a keyboard. All right, so let's go ahead and take this keyboard off of this thing and see if we can clean this thing. All right, so I got a trusty screwdriver here. These keyboards are easy to take apart. There's only about 6 screws that hold it together. All right. So keyboard cord is really nice. It retracts really nice. It doesn't look like it's cracked with age or anything like that. It comes back in here and it has a plug that you can unplug it from there. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and move this computer here out of the way. Actually, I can just leave it like this and just slide it back a bit. I'm not going to pop the keys out just yet. Don't want to have springs and everything all over the place, so let's see about doing this first. Okay. You got this one. Screw here right up top. Okay. All right. So this is what we've got. These are what are called foam and foil keypads here. What they are is there's foam that's underneath this foil, and that's what makes contact with these. I'm gonna look at the D. The D key was bad, right? It's one of the keys along with the enter key. So that's this guy here. Let's take this out and take a look at it and see how bad this is. Because it might just be that we just cleaned the PC board. No, look at that. That's deteriorated. Okay, so I'm going to just go ahead and I'm going to get a kit online and replace all of these. We'll clean the PCB, of course, but we're not going to bother to be selective with the foam and foil pieces. We'll just replace all of them. Okay, so I'm going to put this aside probably for a couple of days until we get until I get these in, and then we'll replace them and we'll test the keys out one more time. All right, so stay tuned. Well, you know, I figured while I'm waiting for the foam and foil things to arrive, let's take a peek inside of this thing since we already have it out. So to do that, there are these tabs here that you kind of just have to kind of be careful. They kind of have to pull, this pulls out. There you go. You push the screwdriver in there and it just kind of wedges in there and they kind of pull out a little bit. All right, that's the way to do it. Sure, now that these tabs are broken, they're pretty strong and durable, but you can see pushing them in is what the secret is, and having more than one screwdriver is also, you know, a huge plus. Okay. So what we want is here. These are the guts right here. They're the drives. over there. The screen is on this side. We got 1, 2, 3, 4 screws that we need to take out here. Okay, so we got 4 on the top and then 2 here on the side. So let's start with these. And you want to make sure that they don't fall inside. Sometimes they'll get lost, hard to find. Okay, let's just get it right out. And here are the guts. Wow. Okay, so we got a little bit of an issue that we need to clear up. You can see this card here is bowed, came off its track right here. So we'll take this out and straighten that one out. Wow. Okay. All right. A lot of times these plastic tracks here break off, they get brittle with time and they start breaking off, but these look like they're all well intact. And then here we got the drive controller. Okay. So we got a few things going on here. All right, so let me get this board fixed here real quick, and then we'll go through this because this is going to bug me. There we go. All right. Yeah. All right, what we got? AST 6-pack plus. It's a little bowed, but that's what we saw when we first booted up. The auto exec booted up the time, so battery's still good apparently. And let's see what the heck this was here. I was bowing the card. It certainly has little tabs on it, so it tabbed into something, and this tab is broken, and that's what caused it to fly out of whatever it was at. What we've got here is an AST 6-pack. Looks like it's full. Had pins for a parallel adapter and for a game, a game port. So judging from the boot up, looks like the battery's still good because it kept time. So that was good, but we'll test it anyways again, just in case I have extra batteries. So that's the AST board. It has a serial port. And then the other boards here, here's the disk drive controllers for the hard drive and the floppies. Then we have the graphics card here. And then here we have, looks like okay, so this is the parallel port right here, the last card. Yeah, so anyways, that really is what makes up these machines. If you wanted to swap or change the hard drive or the floppy, you would basically take out this part of the cage. Notice it has little shock absorbers here, which are pretty rad. The hard drive on this came with shock absorbers as well. I'm sure you can see the necessity of that since this is a portable. So, all right, so that's, so much for the internals. I'm not going to bother taking the rest of the shields out. Suffice it to say, the monitors on this side gives you all the adjustments from the flyback transformer here, focus, your scan rates, your verticals and all that stuff, your brightness. So, but the monitor looked great, so I'm not going to touch this. And then we're going to leave the hard drives intact. We didn't test the floppy, but we'll test the floppy. But the hard drive obviously worked because it booted up from it. So we'll put this back, and yeah, that sheds the light of what these things have inside and what they look like inside. Not a big, great mystery. And so, all right. So stay tuned. So if I can get this back in here. Pete's sakes. There we go. All right, stay tuned. Okay, after doing a little bit of digging, I looked at the top of this piece of the cage here and saw where this piece came from and why this was bowed. So apparently this got cracked and it pushed itself down in between the card and the chassis and it bowed it. It's been like that probably for a very long time because someone wasn't careful in putting this back. What this does is it keeps the cards straight. It keeps them from moving. And obviously they must have crushed it in and got jammed on the board, and that's what caused it to break, caused it to land on the side. The other thing that I found that I fixed is the graphics card wasn't on its track here on the side as well, so it was also bowed a little bit. So, you know, someone was working on this at some point in time, though. Well, they had to put the AST board in because they didn't come with the AST boards. So I super glued this guy, the little tab that was loose, back on here. So we'll put this back on and we'll put this back into play, but I'm not going to put this back on just yet. I want to make sure that I test the battery, but I want to make sure that we get the keyboard going, and then we can set the clock on here, make sure the clock keeps its time. Otherwise I'll replace that battery on the AST board. So stay tuned. There you go. Okay, so while we're waiting for the foam and foil to get here, thought I would go ahead and start taking this apart and retrobright all the keys here. So first things first, one of the biggest pains for the Compaq keyboards here is taking off the space bar. And I already did so, but I just wanted to just give you a little heads up on how that's done. Underneath here on each side, there are these little tabs, and I'll take apart the space bar. I'll take it off so you can see the tabs that you just kind of, this little piece right here, this little black piece, just kind of slide it as much as you can to this side, or this side, you know, either way, but I slide it as much as I can. It's not much, it's probably like 1/16 of an inch, but it doesn't take much. So that way you don't have to push the little tab on the space bar too much and risk breaking it. So you basically, I basically just take that little tab, push it to the left, and it pops out. And then I just slide this over all the way to this side. Like I said, it's about 1/16 of an inch. And then I push the tab from the space bar to the left here and unlock it. So you can see the tabs that I'm talking about. Okay, it's right here. So I just kind of push that tab a little bit. See, you can see it bend a little bit. Hopefully the focus here is showing you that it can bend a little bit. So anyways, be careful with that. You don't want to push it too far because you'll crack it here if you do so. So again, pain in the ass to take the space bar out. I'm always nervous doing so. So anyways, so there you go. So I'm just going to start popping these keys off. They're very, very thin. It's very thin. So you just kind of have to just be sensitive about that. You know, be real careful when you're popping them out. All right. So we'll speed up this video, get this out, and then go ahead and retrobright this puppy. Okay, so we got all our keys off. First we're going to put them through the ultrasonic cleaner, kind of like what we do with the Commodore keys. We'll put them through the ultrasonic cleaner, get them cleaned first, and then we'll retrobright. I'll get the vacuum and the brush and clean the chassis here, and And then we'll start the process of taking out the rest of these little foils. They kind of clip on, you know, I think I showed you that earlier. So this will be, all of these are just deteriorated. Whoa, there you go. So this will be quite an exercise. Look at that. Just completely disintegrates in my hand. That's the foam. Okay, so we're gonna take all of these out. I won't speed up the video because this will very time consuming. So we'll be back after you get this cleaned and take it from there. Stay tuned. Okay, so I think you know how this goes from my past videos. I'm gonna ultrasonic clean these keys and get all the grime off and everything before we retrobrite them. I have two sets of keys here. I figured I'd just do everything at once. I have some Commodore keys from a 64C here. You can see how bad, hopefully you can pick it up, how bad the yellowing is. That's the yellowing, that's the side, the color it should be. All of these keys are pretty rough shape in terms of how yellow they are. So I'm going to retrobrite these at the same time as the Compaq keys. The Compaq keys are just as bad, if not worse. You can see the color shift. And then just look at the bottom of the key compared to the top part of the key. So anyways, let's clean these off and then we'll retrobrite. Fortunately, it has been about 100 degrees every day. Hot, hot, hot. Plenty of sun. So we're not going to do these indoors with the box. We're going to save a lot of time by putting them outside in the sun and probably just leaving them out there maybe half hour to an hour. And that should probably do it. So let's get this done first. Put the keys in the keycaps in a plastic bag first. I think I'll probably have to do the Commodore key separate. I don't think there's going to be enough room for all of them, so. All right, so we have these, and then we have our, I'm going to throw some super strength mean green in the bag. And I had some mixture of water and mean green left over from the last time we used the cleaner here. So I'll use the rest of this in there. And we'll reuse that mixture that I have in here with the Commodore keys. Just notice this bag has a little bit of a leak, but it's okay. The water level is going to come up all the way to the top there. So I'm going to put hot water, not hot water, it's just kind of hot to the touch water in here. That'll help speed things up as well. Okay, I'm going to fill this up to the line and make sure all the keys in the plastic bag are underneath the water, which they are. Just double check. You don't want to put your hands inside the mixture, inside the water while the ultrasonic cleaner is running. So be real careful about that. All right. So we're going to leave this we're going to turn this on and we're going to leave this for 10 minutes. And yeah, and then we'll set them up for retrobrighting. Here we go. Okay, Alrighty. So these are done. So that water is just a little bit less clear than it was before. So that's good. Okay, so I know I'm mixing things up between computers here, but I'm trying to do a couple of things at once. So these are Commodore keycaps, and I had 3D printed a holder for them. This way I can weigh this down and it stays submerged, because for this I'm going to add hydrogen peroxide developer and some water to this, covering all the keys, covering it with saran wrap or vinyl, and putting it in the sun for an hour or so. I like doing this when it's sunny and hot because the heat from the sun will heat up the solution, makes the reaction, and it's all uniform. So I don't have to worry about the peroxide drying up in pieces and causing a marbleizing effect that's difficult, if not impossible, to get out. But I have a holder for these keycaps here, so it's easy for me to do that. And I'll show you how I do that. For the Compaq keys, though, I don't have a holder because the keys aren't the same as the Commodore keys. There's no stem that goes into the keys, and this is the keycaps. So I laid down 3M tape underneath in order to hold the keys in place, and I'm going to use paste on this. So there's the Salon Care 40 liquid, which is the blue, which I just showed you. For this though, I'm going to brush on the same thing, except this is a paste. The thing with that is usually I do this when I don't put something in the sun. I'll do this in-house with an aluminum foil covered box and UV lights and all that stuff. But I'm going to put this out in the sun because it'll just react faster. But the difference is you have to check on this like every half hour to make sure that none of the paste is dried on the keys, because if any of the paste is dried on the keys, due to the heat, it will leave a marbleizing effect that, again, it's difficult. Sometimes I can take it off with the heat gun, but it's very difficult, if not impossible, to take off. So you have to be more careful when you're using paste to make sure it doesn't dry up on the keys. The key is that it always has to be moist. So you check it every half hour, add more if you need to. If the yellowing hasn't completely gone away yet, then you brush another layer of this paste on, leave it on for another half hour, and check again. So it's just a pain to make sure you check every half hour or so. So unlike the liquid, you don't have to worry about it. As long as the liquid doesn't evaporate below the key caps, you're going to be fine. So that's the difference between the two. So the reason I'm doing this, it'll be interesting to see one method versus the other when these are done, because they both have a lot of yellowing. So that's what we're going to do next, is put the vinyl on top to keep the moisture in and put it out in the sun. So let's go through that process. Okay, so I'm weighing this down. There's some wire going underneath the keys, and I'm gonna just weigh them down so it doesn't float. And we're gonna add some hot water to this. Not that the water temperature needs to be hot, the sun will heat it up, but okay. And then I'll add hydrogen peroxide. Obviously I'm diluting it with the water. The hydrogen peroxide is pretty strong, so you want to make sure, you probably want to wear gloves. You don't want to get this on you. If you do get it on you, rinse your hands or whatever you get it on very quickly, because it'll burn. It'll leave your hands white. Okay, you want to make sure that all the keys are covered in water or peroxide, whatever you want to call this solution. Okay. Yeah, it looks good. We'll add just a little bit more peroxide. It's just about full. And then we'll cover it with vinyl. Okay. Okay, so this is ready to be put out in the sun, just like this. The vinyl, saran wrap, whatever you're using, will hold the moisture in. So that'll take care of that. So that's this one. So with these, we are going to brush on this paste. And again, you have to be careful with the paste. Don't let it evaporate to the point of it getting dry on the keys. And I've been doing this a long time. I'm pretty careful with it. I know to flush my hands with cold water if I get any on me, but you'll want to wear gloves. Don't do as I do here. Okay. So I put it on quite liberally. You make sure you cover the keys completely. Okay, so I think we got this pretty well covered. So, no water, no nothing. We just cover this up. Okay, again, you want to make sure you check on this every half hour. If you're seeing that it's not as moist and a lot of it is starting to dry out, just lift the corner of this and start brushing on more paste, unless it's already white enough to where you want it. Okay, this is after 45 minutes in the sun, 90 degrees today. This pan was hot, very, very hot, which means that the peroxide no doubt had intense reaction. Oh my gosh, look at this. These keys are white, white, white. Look at that. Okay, let's get some water in here and neutralize this peroxide. A lot of condensation on this. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. This turned out really, really good. Make sure these keys can't float or can't go down the drain. This turned out much better than I thought. These keys are so thin. I was wondering if I might have any adverse reaction to the peroxide, but apparently they're double plastic. So in other words, the black lettering on it is actually plastic that's underneath. If you look, there's black plastic underneath. So, okay. I don't offhand see any marbling. So the nice thing is this was only 45 minutes. Even as hot as it was, I don't think it gave the peroxide enough time to dry. on any of the keys. Okay, we'll clean that up a little bit later. So I took a look at the Commodore keys that are in the peroxide liquid bath, and they're still a little bit yellow. They did not react as fast as this did. But on the other hand, this was straight 40 peroxide. The liquid peroxide wasn't straight peroxide. We diluted it with water. So, all right, let me wash these up and we'll see what we got. The paste peroxide on the white Compaq keys, half hour in the hot sun, and they are white. There is no yellow. And be careful with the gray keys. You'll probably want to leave the gray keys in for less, or just make sure that you always have a lot of peroxide on them, you know, so that it's always damp, because they did start getting susceptible to swirling, which I managed to get out with steel wool, but they weren't out there that long, so you have to be careful. All right, so the Commodore keys, well, I'm not gonna put them back in this video, so suffice to say they're sitting out there in the sun with paste, because that mixture of peroxide liquid with water just wasn't reacting fast enough. It did react, just wasn't reacting fast enough. So I'll leave the mixture of liquid to the bigger things like the cases. All right, so we're still waiting for the foam foils to get here. They should get here in the next couple of days. So once they get here, we'll do that, and we'll put the keys back, and then we'll have a final reveal. Okay, so today I received these. We're ready to get going on the next phase of this keyboard restoration. Foam and foil capacitive pads. So let's compare. Okay, you can see these guys here. Nice little foam, not deteriorated. Okay, so that's what we're going to be replacing, and you can see the foam that's there now is like this. There's no cushioning to it. Cushion, because the foam is completely deteriorated. It's pretty bad. So now comes the arduous task of popping all of these things off and popping these things on. You have to be careful in popping these things on, because popping these off isn't an issue. But when you put these replacements on, you have to make sure that the bottom part of the foil here is snaps. There's these little tabs here that you got to make sure that it snaps into place. So you basically kind of have to push them in all four corners. So, all right, but we'll get to that. So I'll time lapse this and start taking all of these off here. This will take a while. Okay, so now that we've got this, all the little tabs, which wasn't, you know, I used a little tiny flathead screwdriver and just kind of popped up the little corners of them. So now the interesting part becomes putting these replacements in because this little clear plastic part of the bottom here has to snap into place. So kind of have to carefully just snap each corner back in. Okay, so I think I got this figured kind of out, an easy way to do this, but it's still going to be time consuming. So what I'm doing is I am taking the keyboard and pushing the plunger up, and each plunger has 4 little tabs, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm getting this, it's the clear side, the little disc on the bottom here, and I'm putting it in so it captures at least 2 of those tabs. So then I only have the bottom 2 tabs here that I need to push this down. And when I push it down, okay, let's try this again. When I push it down, I'm going to do these 2 tabs over here instead. It's easier. When I push this down, you should hear it click. See, I don't know if you heard that, but it clicked. So basically when and there's the other one, click. So if all 4 little tabs are holding on to that little plastic disc on the bottom, for one, this will be aligned. So as you can see, it's going up and down inside that little square. But then the other thing that I'm doing is I'm kind of just tugging at it a little bit and make sure that all 4 sides are sticking, or 4 corners, if you will. Okay, so I have to do that with all of these. So this will take me a long time here. So I'm going to just go ahead and do this off camera, and I'll come back when I'm done. All right, so be patient, stay tuned. Okay, last one. So this took me about an hour to do all of these. And I ended up using this little kind of little tiny mini flathead screwdriver to push all these little tabs. You only have to push 2 and you can hear it click. You can only have to push 2 in if you slide this into the other 2. There we go. And I just give it a little tug on each side, make sure. So I think that's it. There we go. You can kind of tell when these are in correctly because they'll kind of dive a little bit underneath the little square. So got all the keys in, or the foams in. So anyone's like this that kind of gets stuck, I'm gonna double check, because I tugged all of them because I've been putting them in. So I think we're good. I think the next step for us is to put these keycaps back on, and then yeah, we'll go from there. All right, so we're ready to put the keycaps on, but I'm going to put the base of this keyboard back on first. The reason being is if I try to put the keycaps on now, it's going to push down on the plunger, and it's going to push the plunger, pop it out all the way to the other side. So if I put the base on here, it'll keep the, like this, it'll keep the plungers from popping out, because obviously the base will be in its way. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to put the base on first and then put the keycaps on. Should have thought about that after I popped the foam out, that I could have put the keycaps while holding the plunger with my finger that way. But anyways, it'll all work out the same in the end. So what I'm going to do right now is basically just go ahead and clean this with isopropyl alcohol, and put the base, get the base back together. Okay, it just dawned on me that I'm gonna have to take the spacebar out because the spacebar had a different spring that's a little thicker than the spring that I put back that belonged to the rest of the keys. So gonna do that before I do anything else. And then I'm also going to get some paste, some thermal paste, and put that on here real quick. Okay. Okay, so now that I got the keyboard back, now it becomes easier to put the keycaps back on. Okay, before I put the keycaps on, it looks like I forgot one little screw, and actually I think this guy goes here. Okay. Which means that this black screw here goes there. Now we're ready to put the keycaps on. Get the springs on first. Okay, so there we go. So we got the keyboard back built. Everything seems good. It's all boomeranging back. So, all right. So at this point, since we got everything together, screwed on and keycapped and all that stuff, we'll put this back in the case and plug it in and keep our fingers crossed. So stay tuned for that. Let's see what happens. Here's our beautiful keyboard. Okay, and before I screw this case back on, let's go ahead and turn this on and see if this works for us. Okay, we're getting a 201 error now. So when we bent that board back, some chips may have gotten loose from the sockets or some traces may have gotten damaged, so we're going to take that board back out. And see if we can find the issue. or we can just take it out because that's an expansion board, just so we can test this thing out without it. Yeah, that kind of sucks. I'm trying to get this card out. It's going to be a pain in the ass here. There we go. All right. As you can see, it's still bowed. So I'm going to go check and see if all the traces are intact, and I'll reseat the RAM. It's a lot of RAM to check. Okay, we're going to try this card again. So the area we're getting 4040 201. Basically, the 4040 represents the bank, the memory bank, and that's the 40, the first two numbers, and the second two numbers is the bit. That's bad. The parity 2 error that you saw means that the error was off the motherboard. In other words, it was on the AST card. Anyways, I found these 3 bad RAM chips on bank 0, which is on the AST card that I have here. It was this bank here. So the 3 bad RAMs were this one, and this one. So replace those RAMs with good RAMs. So we're going to give this a shot. Okay, so there we go. So this took a little while because you don't see the memory counting up. I'll have to check the Compaq manual to see if there's a setting that allows me, a jumper setting or a switch setting that allows me to see the memory as it's counting up. So as you can see, replacing those 3 RAM chips did the trick. We're no longer getting a memory error. We're no longer getting a parity error. So there you go. I think we can call this fixed. Awesome. So at this point, I'm going to shut this thing off. I'm going to put the cover back on, and then we'll give a quick brief summary and wrap this video up. So stay tuned. All right, so here we are. A beautiful Compaq Portable in fully working order. A nice compact carrying case for it. Beautiful shape, mint, I would say, almost like new. These were made specifically for the Compaq Portables. So what did we do with this in the end? We had a few little issues. We had the expansion card, the AST 6-pack plus card, that was all bent out of shape because it was put in poorly. We had a few little broken standoffs. The keyboard wasn't functioning very well. We replaced all the foam foils on it. We also had an error with the AST 6-pack. We had a parity error, 4040, 201. 201's memory error, 4040 represents the bank and the bit. So 40 is bank 0 on the AST card. So we found 3 bad RAMs on bank 0 of the AST card, replaced those. The fan makes a little bit of a noise. It's not detrimental. Probably have to replace the fan at some point, but you know, I'll have to find the jumpers so we can see the RAM check counting up. Right now it's just a blinking cursor, but when it finishes like it is doing right now, everything boots up properly. The hard drive works great. I didn't do a hard drive check on it. I will, but for all intents and purposes, the hard drive works great. Let's test the floppy here real quick. I did clean the heads with isopropyl alcohol. I always mess up that word. So let's put a DOS disk in there and see if it boots it up. So, and we retrobrighted the keyboard. We retrobrighted the keycaps. This looks like new. The keycaps came out nice, bright white. So we did that as well. And there we go. So the floppy drive works as well. So for all intents and purposes, this is a fully functioning, back to the good old day Compaq Plus portable computer. So I hope this brought back some memories for those. I have a special place in my heart for this because this was my first business computer I ever got. I was the first kid on my block with a 10 megabyte hard drive. So anyways, this brings back fond memories for me. Utilized this a lot when I was a kid. So all right, there you have it. So I hope you got something out of this. Hope it brought back memories. Hope it motivates you to, restore something that you have sitting around that's just bugging the heck out of you and just, is waiting to get a new life. All right. So like I always say, life is short. Live for the day. Enjoy every minute. Peace out.